Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast presented by BetMGM. I am BJ Cunningham, joined by Tanner McGrath to dive into Tuesday's Major League Baseball slate. Brendan Glasheen is out. He's having some travel issues coming back from the WNBA All-Star Game. We have a 15-game slate for this Tuesday, but at the time of recording this, because we are recording this on Monday night, we only have confirmed pitching matchups for 8 of the 15 games. So we are going to cut off our final segment of final bets. We're going to keep everything from best bets, fade the public, and the underdogs will be the main three sections of the podcast today. We are just dealing with what we have. You know, it's unfortunate that teams can't name their starting pitchers at least 24 hours in advance, but that's okay. So let's dive into Tuesday's slate with best bets. First up, Tanner, what do you got?
Yeah, I am going to be on the Subway Series over. Mets at Yankees over 8.5. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern time game. Ballpark Pal makes this total 9.5. I feel like a cheap 9 is probably good. For what it's worth, both Subway Series games in Queens went way over. 32 runs across those two games in late June. But my handicap comes down to I just don't like the starting pitchers. Jose Quintana goes for the Mets. He has been a regular fade candidate of mine. I think his arm is dead. He's 35 years old with a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. He can't limit hard contact, explaining his 5.2 expected ERA. He's also allowing more home runs than ever before. He can't strike anyone out, on pace for a career-low 18% strikeout rate. So he's forced to nibble around the edges more, where he's not locating as well as he used to. And he's been getting really lucky recently. He's stranded, I think it's 36 of his past 37 base runners. The Rockies, in his last start out, in Queens, by the way, not in Coors Field, still took him for 5 runs on 4 home runs, though. Again, there's that home run problem. I think he's a tad overvalued, and I think that he's due to blow up as soon as some left-on-base luck flips. Meanwhile, I think that the Yankees lineup is starting to enter undervalued territory. Look, they have been terrible, god-awful. And I've been a huge hater. I've been the captain of the fading the Yankees train the last month or so. But I think the hate is starting to go too far, even for me. Mike Petrello had an excellent tweet recently, right before the All-Star break. Over 900 team months since the start of 2019. The 2024 July Yankees posted the 5th lowest BABIP of any team during that stretch. But, you know, they just, over the weekend, they scored 20 runs in a 4-game split with Tampa. The lineup is too talented. Things just have to turn eventually. I think this is the time that they start doing so. I also think Luis Gil, who goes to the Yankees, is still overvalued. He's young. He just hit the 100-inning mark. I think his arm is going to start to wear a bit in the dog days. He's mainly regressed recently because his strand luck finally turned. He posted an 84% strand rate in his first 12 starts. 1.8 ERA, 67% strand rate in the 7 starts since, 6 ERA. The walks are just a huge problem. He can't control or command his arsenal. He has a career 12% walk rate, and he's issued 50 in 100 innings this year. And the Mets are your classic, always patient, contact-based, pesky lineup. They worked Yale for 5 runs across 4 hits and 4 walks in 4 innings in late June, and they've been red hot since. They've posted a hard hit rate over 40% and a ground ball rate under 40% in the last month. They have an ISO over 200 during that stretch. They have the second highest hitting F4 of any team during that stretch. You know, Lindor, Alvarez, Nimmo, Vientos. They're such a different team, by the way, with Alvarez out there to hit 320 and manage the pitching staff. He's the clear alpha dog on that squad. Jeff McNeil just had a big series against Miami. They're all hitting. They should hit again. I will say, both bullpens should be well rested, but I have my likes and dislikes for both units. Like everyone knows this. I think the Yankees bullpen is a bottom 10, bottom 5 unit anyways. So this doesn't really change the handicap for me. I expect a high scoring affair in the Bronx on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm going to stick in that game. I actually do like the Yankees for the first 5 innings at minus 155. For me, what it really comes down to is the starting pitching matchup. You obviously laid out Jose Quintana and his strand luck as well. Yeah, that home run, he really does have a home run problem. 1.5 home run per 9 rate this season. The fly ball to home run percentage is at close over 15%. The last time he did that was 2021. His expected area was over 5 that season as well. So he's doing that once again. And then you look into his stuff numbers, and it's like he's got an 82. Like he has no velocity, no movement left. I mean, he's throwing all of his pitches down and in to right-handed hitters, except for his fastball is going up and out, trying to fool hitters a little bit. But every single one of his top 3 pitches are allowing over a 350 expected weighted on base average. He's not fooling anybody. So even though the Yankees, if you go through their lineup, you'll say, okay, they really only have a couple of guys that can actually hit left-handed pitching. With how bad Quintana has been, their lineup, like you said, should continue to get a little bit better against a bad starting pitcher. And Luis Hill, I know he's had a little bit of a regression here, especially a couple games against Baltimore, and obviously the game against the Yankees where he gave up 5 runs. But his last 2 starts have been really good against the Red Sox, and then against the Orioles again. He gave up 8 runs in 1 1/3 inning against the Orioles, and then turned around and threw gave up only 1 run over 6 2/3 innings and struck out 9 batters. So I think he's got his command back. He's only walked 1 batter over his last 2 starts, and that's, like you've highlighted, it's been really the biggest issue for him. And when he has command over that arsenal, he only throws 3 pitches, and all of them are really, really good. All have over a 25% whiff rate. His changeup and his slider are allowing under a 270 expected weighted on base average. So even though the Mets, I know that they do hit those pitches very, very well, I think the starting pitching matchup for the Yankees is far superior compared to what the Mets have with Jose Quintana. So projected the Yankees for the first 5 at -210. So I like them at -155. And you can find right now the same price on the first 5 in the full game. I would rather just take the first 5 because the Mets do have the better bullpen here. So would rather take the price on the first 5 than the full
I don't mind the Yankees in a high-scoring game. And, people forget that the Yankees were like historically good against right-handed pitching in the first half of the season. Like they've been awful, but they are still a really good lineup against that side. And Quintana is really, really bad. And Yankees in a high-scoring game. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's move on to fade the public. And wouldn't you know it, the public is flocking to the most electric pitcher in baseball, Paul Skeens. The Pirates are currently getting 79% of the bets and 97% of the cash against the Cardinals on Tuesday. Tanner, are you riding with Skeens, or do you think there's a little bit of value on Lance Lynn and the Cardinals?
This is a silly handicap, but I genuinely believe the Pirates should be well over -200 favorites. So I'm going to ride with the public. I would take the Pirates in the first half or on the full game money line to -200 or better. I think at the time of recording Monday night, I split a unit on both. I think it was -170 full game, -180 first 5. Just the difference between Skeens and Lynn is what? 2 full runs. Lance Lynn has a 4.25 xFIP. Skeens has a 2.25 xFIP. That seems about right. 2 full runs across a full season. The key for Lynn, it's just that he doesn't have the velocity on his fastball trio anymore. He's always been a 4-seam cutter sinker guy. He's thrown those 3 pitches over 90% of the time for a lot of his career. All those pitches are now flirting with 90 miles per hour. They were closer to like 30, 93, 94 at his peak. And his success depends entirely upon generating those like in the zone or on the shadow of the zone whiffs. And he just can't do it as consistently anymore. I think his zone contact rate is up a bit. His outside zone contact rate is up significantly. And I really think it's just on the shadow of the zone there. Even though the Pirates are no good in the lineup, the difference between Skeens and Lynn is too much for me to disregard. And, the Cardinals lineup is fascinating to me. Like they were ice cold against righties to start the year, and then they got white hot, and now they're regressing a tad. I think they're probably somewhere like above average, slightly above average, maybe borderline top 10. But can above average hit Skeens right now? I don't think so. Nobody can hit Skeens right now. And also, I think the Cardinals have been hitting above their head from a BABIP perspective, especially over the last 6 weeks or so. I love the Cardinals bullpen, but I think that the Pirates bullpen has a really high ceiling. They've posted a 2.7 ERA over the past 2 weeks behind plenty of whiffs, plenty of weak contact. They rank 6th among bullpens in Stuff Plus. I really like that Bednar, Holderman, Stratton core. And we'll also just have to see, who uses who in Monday night's games. But ultimately, handicap comes down to one thing. I don't think this line is anywhere near high enough. I think it should be -220, -230. I wouldn't be surprised if it got there, but under -200 in either half based on bullpen usage on Monday night works for me.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, I mean, Lynn is now at his highest expected ERA that he's ever had in his entire career. And I mean, you said you hit the nail on the head. It's like Lynn forever has just been a guy that doesn't have a lot of pitches with a lot of movement and not a lot of velocity, and he's just been a location guy. And suddenly, when you start getting hit as a location guy, that's when you see the expected ERA start to fly up towards 5. I don't mind the over here. There's over 7.5 out there. I know taking an over in a Skeens game seems kind of crazy. And both these bullpens have been pretty good. But when I was digging into the Cardinals, especially against right-handed hitting, against right-handed pitching, Skeens obviously has the highest average velocity on his fastball, 99.1 miles per hour. Cardinals against right-handed fastballs that are over 98 miles per hour this season are around league average. But Skeens' second most used pitch is a sinker. And that sinker hasn't been as good as the fastball. And the Cardinals actually this season are number 1 in expected weighted on base average against right-handed sinkers. So that leads me to maybe the Cardinals will have a okay chance at actually maybe getting a run or two off of Skeens. The Pirates bullpen has been really good over the past 30 days, but as we know, the Cardinals can't hit left-handed pitching, but they are good against righties. So when you dig into that Pirates bullpen, there's a lot of right-handed arms in there, and the one left-handed arm they have is Aroldis Chapman, who's been terrible this season. So that leads me to say, okay, maybe the Cardinals can get 2 or 3 runs here in this game. I know Skeens has been, 1.9 ERA, 2.5 expected ERA. I'm not saying he's going to regress like that. That's kind of a crazy thing to say with how good he's been. But I think the Cardinals do have a better chance at getting 2 or 3 runs off of Skeens in the Pirates bullpen than this just being a shutout. Because like his last game against the Brewers are categorically like the worst lineup in baseball against velocity. So it's not really surprising that Skeens was able to no-hit them over 7 innings. And then you look at the flip side, the Pirates haven't been, world beaters, especially against right-handed pitching. But against right-handed fastballs, they have a 362 expected weighted on base average. They have one of the best expected weighted on base averages against right-handed sinkers, which are 2 of the 3 most pitches that Lynn throws. And I know the Cardinals bullpen is good, but if you get a lead, you're going to see the back end of the Cardinals bullpen. You're not going to see Helsley. You're not going to see the guys sitting in the 2 or 3 slots. So for me, I think the total's a little low. There's not going to be much wind. It's going to be a hot day in Pittsburgh, which is obviously going to lead to the ball traveling a little further. So I kind of like over 7.5 runs if you can get it at this point. I know it's the market has kind of moved up to 8, and I'm pretty sure this will probably settle 8 minus 110 would be my guess. So if you can grab a 7.5, I would do that.
I will say across what's now 18 starts and around 100 innings at AAA and MLB this season, Skeens has a 91% strand rate.
Yeah.
And he's really, really good. Obviously, he is the best strikeout starting pitcher in Major League Baseball right now. So you're going to expect maybe a little bit higher than usual strand numbers. But if he if he allows a few hits here and there with ducks on the pond, he could regress a little bit. I don't know how much, but a 92% strand rate,
not sustainable.
That's high. That's
anybody.
Way too high.
I don't care who you are. It's not sustainable for anybody. Yeah. So
Pirates in a high scoring game. Another one.
There you go. Pirates, a high-scoring game. And I mean, listen, they have I think they have the way better matchup. I'm not trying to say the Cardinals have a good matchup against Skeens. I just think there's a better chance of them getting 2 or 3 than there is of them getting shut out.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. This will be our final segment of the podcast. There will be no final bets because, again, we only have confirmed pitching matchups for 8 of the 15 games. So it's the underdog of the day. Tanner, who are you rolling with?
Yeah, too bad that we couldn't find a little more value on this board. Yeah. But I am going to roll with another good one. Twins as home dogs hosting the Phillies in a high-scoring game.
There you go.
I grabbed plus 140 on the Twins money line Monday night. I think I would take plus 125 or better. Maybe I'd flirt with plus 120. I also like the over. I grabbed over 7.5. I think it's gone up to 8 now at some books, but Ballpark Pal makes the number closer to 9.5. My whole handicap in this game is that I think the Twins are going to have a field day in the batter's box. Sure, Zach Wheeler is a Cy Young candidate. I'm just worried about that potential injury. He left his final start before the All-Star break early with some kind of back strain, injury, soreness, pain, whatever. He missed the All-Star game. So this is his first start back. What if he isn't 100%? And what if Rob Thompson decides to moderate his usage, whereas reliever support staff has been slumping? The Philly relievers have posted a 7.7 ERA, 4.3 Sierra, 1.8 whip, 12% walk rate, and a 50% hard hit rate over the past month. And again, the defense behind Wheeler, the Phillies defense, not great. Bottom 5 in defensive runs saved. I think that's a little undervaluing them, but I don't think they're excellent by any means. On the flip side, since calling up Brooks Lee, the Twins have evolved into one of baseball's most dynamic, dangerous offenses. Cirillo and I talked about their AL Central futures on the Megapod we did a few weeks ago. The Twins are so dangerous. They lead MLB in WRC Plus over the past month. Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa look like their old selves. Buxton has a 1,300 OPS over the past month. I think the Twins' bullpen is undervalued. A unit led by Johan Duran and Griffin Jacks is too talented to continue trending at a below average pace. And they're solid defensively. They're top 10 in defensive runs saved. The Twins are a team that could get white hot very, very soon. I think it starts here. And sure, look, I don't trust their starting pitcher, Simeon Woods Richardson, against this hard-hitting, dangerous Phillies lineup. But after months of being overvalued due to Strand and Babbitt luck, I think he's seen enough negative regression lately to where the market has kind of steadied on him, like upon his true value. He's posted a 4.5 ERA over his past 6 starts. But in the end, he's a decent above-average arm with earned run indicators in the high 3s and elite command, a 106 location plus mark. And, for what it's worth, Woods Richardson is the 6th most profitable starting pitcher on the money line this season. Twins are 12-4 in his starts. A better would be up 6.5 units with a 40% ROI. As a quick plug, I did a whole big halfway trends update for this week's Better's Notebook. So you can check that out on the app and on the site. It'll be up Tuesday morning. So screw it. Let's do it again, Simeon. I'm betting the Twins squeak out a high-scoring affair as moderate home dogs on Tuesday.
And I'm going to go with the Oakland A's as plus 116 underdogs against the Houston Astros. Kind of an unknown pitching matchup here. Jake Blas versus Osvaldo Bido. Blas has only started 2 games, and I kind of digged into his stuff plus numbers, which have been very, very good. But when you look at where he's projected to be around as a starting pitcher, he is the number 2 prospect in the Astros system right now. But he's around a 4.7, 4.8 ERA type of pitcher, which doesn't really, scream of like, okay, maybe the Astros should be favored. Osvaldo Bido had 9 starts with the Pirates last year. It didn't really go well. And then this season, he's just got like some of the most interesting numbers I think I've ever seen. Listen to this: 3.44 ERA, 2.82 expected ERA, 5.73 xFIP, which just makes no sense to me at all at first glance. But what I will say about him, he's mainly been pitching out of the bullpen. He's only pitched 18 1/3 innings, and a lot of that has been in long relief type of situations, and he's only started 1 game. But in those 18 innings, his stuff plus numbers have been really, really good. His top 3 pitches: fastball, cutter, slider. Slider's got a 130 stuff plus rating, fastball 103, cutter 101. So he grades out as a pretty decent pitcher from a stuff perspective. He just really needs to get his command under control because he's got a 5.4 walk per 9 rate in those 18 innings. If he can get that under control, I think we'll have a decent matchup here against this Astros lineup. But I know the Astros hit right-handed pitching really well, but Kyle Tucker's not in the lineup, and he is by far their best hitter against right-handed pitching. So I'm not so, and Oakland this season has been league average against righties. So I'm not so sure that the Astros have this like gigantic advantage in terms of offense. And I think the Oakland A's might actually have the better starting pitcher. And then, if the A's do have a lead in this game, the front 1 or 2 guys can match what the Astros actually have. And it's very, very difficult to face Lucas Erceg and Mason Miller. Obviously when you get in the back end of the A's bullpen, it's not really good, but those front end guys are really, really difficult to face. So if the A's can get a lead in this game, I think they can shut this thing down and potentially win it. And I'm not so sure that they should be underdogs here. So I like them at plus 116. I projected this game pretty close to right around even money for the A's. So I like them at plus 116 and kind of a little bit of an unknown pitching matchup.
Oakland over the last month has been the 3rd best lineup in baseball with a 124 WRC plus. 3 hitters with a WRC plus over 200. That's Brent Rooker, Lawrence Butler, and Kyle McCann, the rookie.
There you go.
all three of them have a walk rate over 10%. The Oakland A's are mashing. This is a really fun team to watch. It's a really fun team to watch, and they absolutely have a bullpen advantage, I think.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That will do it for this episode of Payoff Pitch. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to the podcast. Also, check out the Action Network Discord. There's a link in the episode description of the podcast. We'll be back later this week to look at Friday's slate. For Tanner McGrath, I'm BJ Cunningham. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Good luck with all your bets, and we'll see you next time.